I excitedly took the brand new military uniform, but I saw someone else's name on the collar. I returned the uniform, but the officer just tore off the name tag. He told me the workers had made a mistake. My doubts were finally dispelled. I didn't notice at all that there were many more name tags under the table.
And these so-called new uniforms
Actually came from soldiers on the battlefield. After they sacrificed their lives, their clothes and boots would be stripped off, packed and sent to the rear. Then female workers would clean them thoroughly. They would sew up the bullet holes on the clothes, but there were too many uniforms, and the name tags were often forgotten to be removed. During the principal's impassioned speech, the students threw away their books excitedly. They were full of joy, ready to march to the battlefield. But soon our smiles faded away. The French artillery fire kept coming relentlessly. I delayed putting on my gas mask, because I was helping my comrades. The captain noticed this scene. He advised me not to be foolishly kind. This was my first day in the army. Contrary to what I had imagined, the first task after we reached the trenches was to scoop out the accumulated water with our steel helmets. I was assigned to stand guard at night, but I wasn't afraid at all. Instead, I excitedly loaded the bullets into the gun. At that time, I didn't realize at all that the flash from the muzzle had already exposed my position. A bullet whizzed towards me. Fortunately, the steel helmet on my head blocked the bullets for me. Suddenly, a signal flare rose into the sky. Immediately afterwards, the French army launched a fierce attack. I quickly hid in the bunker. At that moment, I was trembling all over. I regretted my decision to join the army. When I woke up again, everything around me was in utter chaos. I was lucky enough to survive, but my comrades around me were not so fortunate. Corpses were everywhere as far as the eye could see. I received an order from my superior to collect the name tags of the fallen soldiers. While searching, I accidentally stepped on a pair of glasses. A sense of unease welled up in my heart immediately. I strode forward to check. To my shock, I found my deceased good friend. It was also on this day that I finally understood the true origin of my military uniform. After 2 years of baptism by the flames of war, I became a seasoned veteran. Upon receiving the order to attack, I rushed towards the French trenches without hesitation. Even when people around me fell, I didn't pause for a moment. I just kept charging forward with my head down. Soon the French front line collapsed under our attack. To my surprise, the enemy's food supply was actually so abundant. Looking at the table full of delicacies, we began to gobble them up greedily. Suddenly the table started to shake. Even the rats scurried away in panic. I sensed that something was wrong. I immediately stood up and went out to check. Through the dense fog, I could see several huge iron boxes approaching. I froze instantly. Bullets could not stop the tanks from advancing. Soon, the tanks launched a counterattack. The German soldiers were instantly routed. They began to flee in disarray. Faced with such a disastrous defeat, the German government finally signed the armistice agreement. Just when I thought I could finally go home, an officer, driven by his own selfish interests, ordered an attack 1 hour before the armistice took effect. At this moment, I was already completely numb. Like a walking corpse, I charged towards the enemy positions again. In the end, I still failed to return to Germany.
The man poured out a bottle of poison, praying that vultures wouldn't devour his son's body. But shortly after they left, a vulture landed on the boy. It pecked down fiercely. The pain roused the boy from unconsciousness. He threw the vulture off the cliff. Only then did he realize he was trapped on the cliff. He shouted desperately for his father, but never heard a response, so he tried to climb up. The smooth rock walls offered no footholds. He couldn't find any leverage. He could only cling to a crack with his hands, his whole body hanging from the steep cliff. Then the weather changed. A torrential rain poured down in an instant. The rock walls grew extremely wet. The boy could no longer hold on. His strength was gradually exhausted. As the water rose with the rain, he summoned his courage and jumped suddenly. The next day, the boy woke up in the mud. His leg was severely injured, and there was no one around for miles. He crawled laboriously to a puddle to hydrate, and unexpectedly found an earthworm. After resting for a while, he took off his shoes, but his foot had swollen terribly. The boy stuck his foot between 2 stones, and twisted it hard. He found branches to splint his ankle, making himself a simple support. He walked on in pain, finally reaching the top of the cliff. There he saw his own tombstone. The day he fell into the abyss, the entire tribe thought he was dead. When the boy learned his father had left, he lay on the ground, helpless. Suddenly he heard wolf howls. A pack was approaching quickly. He had to retreat. The wolves chased him relentlessly. The boy tried to climb a tree to hide, but a wolf bit his leg. He pulled out his dagger and stabbed the wolf. The crisis was temporarily resolved, yet the wolves lingered under the tree until dawn, when they dispersed, leaving only the injured wolf behind. The boy made a spear from a stick. Approaching the wolf slowly, he raised the spear, ready to strike, but the wolf opened its eyes. After a painful inner struggle, he abandoned the idea. When the boy tried to touch it, the wolf bared its fangs, so he took out a rope and tied the wolf's mouth to prevent it from biting. He carried the wolf to a lake, cleaning its wound. Then they took shelter together in a cave. After a period of recovery, the boy prepared to return to the tribe. Before leaving, he said goodbye to the wolf, but as he set off on his journey home, the wolf followed closely behind. No matter how many times the boy drove it away, it refused to leave, so they decided to journey together.